I think there's a psychological phenomenon in which one feels worse having missed out. So yes, maybe I lost 20 grand speculating on things that didn't work out, but I feel even worse watching my friends get rich speculating on Shiba Inu coin, and then now he's a millionaire and I didn't get
Back to
in.
our argument of diversification. Go ahead and speculate with a little bit of your money as
Yeah.
opposed to treating it as all or nothing. In other words, what I find, David, is that a lot of people have a barbell mentality. They figure they've either got to be 100% safe in bank account or 100% speculation on lottery tickets and nothing in between. My attitude is fill in the middle of that barbell so that you have, sure, speculation and gamble and have fun trying it out, but don't do that exclusively.
The theme of our discussion today is planning for our financial freedom, how to plan for the future and how to plan for retirement. But first, a shout out to our sponsor, iTrust Capital, an IRA that offers 35 crypto assets. If you're thinking about how to plan for growth in your crypto portfolio, well, an IRA may be an option for you. iTrust offers the lowest trading fees in the crypto IRA space at 1% and some unique tax benefits. So if you're over 18 and you want to open a new account with cash or roll over an existing account, simply click on the link down below, itrust.capital/David, to learn more and get started. Ric Edelman is a legend in this space. He is a founder of Digital Assets Council of Financial Professionals. He's also a very influential podcaster and webcaster. We'll be talking about some of his current work. Ric was named the #1 independent financial advisor by Barron's. He's had 2 industry halls of fame, and he is a #1 New York Times bestseller of several books, including The Truth About Crypto and The Truth About Your Future. Ric, welcome to the show. You've got a fantastic resume, so I'm very excited to be talking to you today and picking your brain about the financial freedom that we all crave. Thank you.
David, I'm a big fan of your podcast, so it's a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you.
Ric, let's start by talking about your own work. You've worked many decades in this space. Tell us about some of the common misconceptions about financial planning that you've encountered the most.
Simple fact that most people think it's a lot more complicated than it really is. A lot of people are intimidated about money, and understandably so. We don't get any education about this here in America. The biggest, best economic environment in the world. Our parents generally don't teach us anything about money. Mom and dad will talk to us about everything else: sex, drugs, alcohol,
Mhm.
religion, politics, but they won't talk to us about money. We go to school, K through 12, not a single class on money. Most kids graduate college without ever having taken a personal finance class. When we get to the workplace, our employers tell us nothing other than shoving a bunch of papers at us saying, sign here for the 401k. We have no idea what that is. I remember the first time I got a paycheck. Who is FICA? What are they doing with my money? So we are financially illiterate as a society, and then we're therefore intimidated. And so most people fear the subject of money and they don't want to talk about it. And as a result, they don't engage in it until they hit their 50s, at which point they say, I wish I'd started 20 years ago. So my biggest, most important message, I think, is it's okay to get started now. You don't have to become an expert in this. All you got to be is an expert in you. You know what your dreams and aspirations are. You know what your fears are. You know how much money you have and how much debts you have. You need to be an expert in you. Give that info to a financial advisor. Let them give you the diagnosis. Let them give you the strategies. You'll be amazed at how easy it is to create wealth.
It's interesting you bring up education because just this week I was reading news that more financial literacy or personal finance classes are now required in high schools around the country. This isn't taking effect immediately. These are proposed legislations, but it says here in a CNBC article, in the next 5 years, more than 4 out of 10 high school students in the U.S. will be enrolled in high schools where a personal finance course will be required before graduating. Do you have any idea as to what is going into this curriculum, Ric?
It's not terribly exciting. I've been in the financial literacy movement virtually my entire career with all kinds of organizations focusing on this. The Employee Benefit Research Institute, American Savings Education Council. I founded the Funding Our Future Coalition, the Institute for Financial Literacy, the National Endowment for Financial Education, the Jumpstart Coalition for Personal Finance Education. The list goes on and on and on. And the problem is, even that, as the CNBC article points out, it's only 4 out of 10. Less than half the states today require a personal finance course, and half of those courses don't require a test. And many of those courses teach you about opening a checkbook. They teach you about balancing a checkbook. They don't go into the details of the broad array of personal finance. And if you think you're going to be able to master a subject with a 3-month course taught by a teacher who themselves don't know anything about money, it's a noble effort, but it's not nearly enough of what we truly need.
How would you design a curriculum for young people? So I'll just give you some personal experiences based on my own past. So I graduated from McGill with a degree in finance. Now we were taught financial theory. We were taught corporate finance. We were taught how to value a stock. We were not taught how to, in your words, balance a checkbook, do our taxes, and
Right.
open a business or all the regulations involved. In you know what I mean, right? Personal
Yep.
finance was not even taught at a
Right.
finance university or business school. So this is just something I think it's just expected for us to just figure out on
Right.
our own, and many of us had to. Right.
And
So my
that's how
question
we
is,
do it. We do just figure it out on our own, and we're not good at it because who are you confronted with when you're going to buy a car? It's the first time you've ever done it, and you're talking to a car sales rep who sells 30 cars a month. They're a lot better at it than you are. When you go to buy life insurance, you're doing this once, but the insurance agent has done this thousands of times. You're outclassed. It's like you going to play tennis for the very first time against Billie Jean King. Hint, you're going to lose. And so this is why people are so intimidated. We love to hate banks because we don't understand them. We don't get the fees. We don't understand the features. Many people argue that I'm not the bank's customer, I'm their hostage.
yeah.
So what we need to do is start teaching about money in kindergarten. The age at which children first engage with money is age 3. They make assisted purchases with their parents in the supermarket, not the toy store. So we need to get children involved in the subject of money. When they're learning how to count, let them count pennies and get to be familiar with pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, and dollars. As we age, let's start to engage in understanding how bank accounts work, in understanding insurance, in buying a home, in buying a car, dealing with a mortgage, credit and debt, the importance of the power of compounding. The single most important lesson we can teach young people is the benefit of saving $1 a day for 65 years. So once you teach this stuff, kids absorb it like a sponge. They digest it. They learn how to implement it and execute it. And you don't have to teach macroeconomic theory and max drawdown with Sharpe ratios for people to understand how to achieve success with money.
By the way, these theories I've never used in my professional career anyway. So, I'm not saying other people don't. I'm just saying I never did. So, then again, I'm a podcaster. So, what do you know? Rick, I want to get to your practical advice in just a bit, but let's back up and talk about your philosophy towards money, because I think that we start there and then we branch out. How should a family or an individual, before he starts a family, how should he view money? Is it a tool to gain more wealth? Is it just a tool to save for retirement? Is it a means to an end to acquire material items? It really depends on how you view money and your relationship with money. How would you define it?
A job is what you get to create income. The income is what you use to create a lifestyle and wealth. In other words, nobody, well, I can think of a couple of examples or exceptions, but nobody, I'll say, becomes wealthy through their income. The exceptions are athletes, Hollywood stars and celebrities, recording artists. They make a lot of money from their income. But most of us mere mortals will never make enough money to create true wealth. The key to wealth is you take the money you made at the job and you invest it. Spend some of it for your lifestyle, for sure,
Yeah.
but the rest of it, you've got to invest. It's money making money with money. It's income earning income on income. It's the compounding effect, the exponential growth potential over decades of saving $1 and turning that dollar into $10 and $100 and $1,000. That's how wealth gets created. So people need to recognize that they need to use the income they earn as the foundation for investing to create the wealth that's going to provide them with future financial security.
People say that the best investment one can make is in him or herself.
Right.
This is a very broad statement. Is that true?
It's true to the extent that the investment you make in yourself through education, training, skills, experience allows you to earn a higher income. So if you invest in yourself through education, for example, whether it's college or trade school or school hard knocks, and you use that knowledge, experience, skill set to generate income, and you then apply the income you've earned to investment management, then I think you're talking.
Okay. So then walk us through the logic here behind investing in other people's businesses. It's a very risky trade to invest. We don't
Mhm.
know if a particular stock we buy is going to fail or do well. We don't know if a
Right.
particular commodity is going to tank or go up. There's a lot of questions that even seasoned investors can't answer. So where do we start is my question.
So we start with two fundamental premises. The first, as you just said, we don't know what the future holds. And so we protect ourselves from that uncertainty through something called diversification. In other words, 12 eggs in 12 baskets. I'm not going to buy one stock. I'm going to buy dozens, hundreds, thousands of stocks. And I'm not just going to own stocks. I'm also going to own bonds and real estate and gold and oil and natural resources and foreign securities. I'm going to own as many different kinds of investments as I possibly can on the simple theory that they all won't go broke all at the same time. If I put my money into a single stock, I'm taking a big risk if something goes wrong. But if I own 1,000 stocks, the odds of all 1,000 of them going broke at once is unlikely. The second premise is simply to maintain a long-term perspective. Don't look for investment results tomorrow or next month or next year. Look at the next decade, look at the next 20 or 30 years out. So diversification and time are the biggest weapons, the best tools for helping you achieve long-term wealth.
Shouldn't you just buy the index then and leave it?
Sure. Not just go ahead. Which index? Are you going to buy the S&P 500 of 500 stocks, the Dow 30 of 30 stocks, the Wilshire 5000 of 3,000 stocks? Or are you going to buy an index of stocks or an index of bonds or an index of real estate or an index of commodities? I mean, so this is how you get into the diversification. The key is equities, meaning ownership assets, whether we call them commodities or stocks or real estate or gold.
Yeah.
You want to put most of your money into ownership assets as opposed to loanership, meaning money that you lend to others, which is what you're doing with a bank CD or a bond, because you're going to get better long-term returns from ownership assets, equities for sure.
So I, being a mere mortal, with not billions of dollars in my bank, I have to worry about diversification with limited amounts of capital. So
Right.
suppose I only have, I don't know, $10,000, $20,000. Why do I need to diversify? Because the upside to diversification or diversified portfolio is limited. Whereas I could just gamble on a few securities. I could lose $20,000, but you know what? I'll make it back, Rick. It's not a big deal, but I could gain a 10x, right? Is there
Sure.
anything wrong with that logic?
A little bit, yeah. First of all, you're far more likely to lose it all than get that 10x return. So just
Okay.
recognize you are speculating, you are gambling as opposed to investing. And as long as you recognize that's what you're doing, I got no problem with people buying lottery tickets, as long as they understand the risk that they're taking and the little likelihood of success. So recognize whether do you want to invest or do you want to speculate? Make sure you know what you're doing. Second, a lot of young people do take the attitude, I might as well speculate because if it blows up, so what? I'm 25, I'm 30 years old, I've got 50 years to make up for it, no big deal. What people generally don't realize is that time is the most significant determinant in wealth creation. In other words, take two people who do the exact same thing. One of them does it for 40 years, the other one does it for 50 years. The difference of those extra 10 years are humongous. We're talking a difference of 2-3x difference between the two. So if you're going to squander your 20s by speculating only to discover it didn't work, and you take the attitude, oh, in my 30s, I'll make up for it, you're wrong. You're not going to make up for it. You'll never get it back. And you'll regret the fact that you squandered the opportunity of your teens and 20s.
I think there's a psychological phenomenon in which one feels worse having missed out. So yes, maybe I lost 20 grand speculating on things that didn't work out, but I feel even worse watching my friends get rich speculating on Shiba Inu coin, and then now he's a millionaire and I didn't get in. So now I
So
want.
So this goes back to our argument of diversification. Go ahead and speculate with a little bit of your money as
Yeah.
opposed to treating it as all or nothing. In other words, what I find, David, is that a lot of people have a barbell mentality. They figure they've either got to be 100% safe in bank account or 100% speculation on lottery tickets and nothing in between. My attitude is fill in the middle of that barbell so that you have, sure, speculation and gamble and have fun trying it out, but don't do that exclusively. Own
Right.
some stocks, own some bonds, own some real estate, own some gold, own some oil, do a little bit of everything.
Does my level or amount of capital influence how much I should diversify? So I'll give you two extreme examples. Let's say I only have $100. Well, that maybe I can afford to buy two stocks with my brokerage account. Okay. As opposed to $1 billion, I could buy anything in the investable universe. So where's the medium here? At what point should I start to diversify?
Day one, the advantage you have today, which didn't exist really very well when I got started years ago, decades ago, today you have the advent of exchange traded funds, ETFs,
Right.
and you can buy them for $5. So you can buy shares of an ETF, which is essentially a basket of thousands of stocks or thousands of bonds or hundreds of pieces of real estate property. So you can create an incredibly diversified portfolio the same way the big institutional investors, pension funds and endowments do it. You can do the same thing they do with ETFs, $5 at a time. So it's incredibly accessible, even for people without a lot of money.
What percentage of my income should I allocate to investments every month?
How rich do you want to get?
I mean, no one's going to tell you, Rick, I don't want to get rich unless they're a communist, right?
So, here's my answer will be. What most people ought to be doing is saving 25% of their income. Now, don't let that scare you. A lot of people get freaked out by that. 25% of my income, that's crazy. But here it's incredibly easy. And here's why.
Okay.
First of all, you're already contributing to Social Security. That's 7.5% of your pay. Your boss is doing the same thing. They're matching it. So that between you and your boss, that's already 15% of your pay. Now, Social Security is a lousy investment. You're earning a very low return, but it is an investment. So 15% is already done. You probably have a 401k where you work or a 403b or something like it. Most employers match your contribution. If you put in 5%, they'll put in 3%. That's 8. So just between your 401k and Social Security, you're already at 23%. And I'm telling you to do 25. So it's not nearly as hard as it thinks. And 25%, you'll end up financially successful.
I'm curious. You've also been a lecturer at several renowned universities. You taught personal finance at Georgetown, I believe,
Yes.
also at Rowan University. The people in their college years, what are their financial priorities? The people in your class, 19 to 22-year-olds, what are they thinking about when it comes to personal finance?
Their primary goal are paying for food and rent and classroom books.
Okay.
The average college student graduates with $30,000 of student loan debt. So their primary focus is how to eliminate and deal with that debt. We have to recognize that about 25% of college students are food insecure. Because they barely have enough money to get to campus, and they really struggle with the daily cost of living on campus because they have no income sources, and they're often coming from low-income families who can't really help them very much. So they're very much living in the here and the now, which is why we go back to the point you made earlier, investing in yourself. They are self-sacrificing, investing in their own education so they can get the degree, so they can get the job, generate the income, and then use that to build their lives afterward. So it's really challenging for them to look beyond their college degree. And my focus to them is keep doing what you're doing, tough it out, make it work, get the degree as fast as you can, and get it with as little debt as you can to build your life post-college.
Well, this comes down to the perennial debate as to whether or not college is still worth this investment. Is it worth it to get myself into 5 figures of debt that I have to pay off over 20 to 30 years for a potential at making money?
For the majority of high school graduates today, high school seniors, the answer is no. It's a huge scandal in America today. I've written extensively about it in many of my 13 books. And in fact, I have right now a master class on college called How to Prevent College from Ruining Your Child's Life. If you go to college the correct way, College is a wonderful attribute, but if you go about it the wrong way, it will in fact ruin your life. This masterclass is free. It's available to you at my website, thetruthaboutyourfuture.com, the TAYF.com. You can get the link at dacfp.com as well. And that webinar will change your life. The masterclass is incredible because it shows you the mistakes that so many college-bound students are making in the selection of college, the selection of major,
Yeah.
how much money they're thinking they're going to spend on college, how long they're going to let college take. And we need to get that education to them in their junior and senior years of high school so they can make the correct choices that will have a huge impact on their lives.
Well, give us a teaser of this masterclass, Rick. What is the correct way to go about going into college?
So the correct way to go to college is to first take AP courses in high school so that you get college credit going into high school. Second, go to community college after high school, because let's face it, freshman year of college is nothing more than 13th grade. You're taking required courses that have nothing to do with your major. Most students have not even selected a major. They are undeclared or undecided. So go to a community college where it is dramatically less expensive. After 2 years, you transfer into a 4-year education on a guaranteed level at your state university, and make sure you're choosing a major that is marketable for the next 10 years. This notion of follow your passion is the worst advice anybody ever got. A passion equals a hobby, not a career. So you need to recognize going to college is all about career. It's all about positioning yourself to make money so that you can devote your time and energy to your passion. And then make sure you get that degree in 4 years. The average college student today takes 6 years to get a degree. The extra 2 years virtually doubles the cost of going to college. So get a degree that is marketable from a university that is low cost, and get it done in only 4 years.
But Rick, let me just challenge that for a minute, if I may.
Sure.
If I were to position myself to get the best career possible post grad, shouldn't I aim for a high cost, prestigious college that will require me to maybe go into debt, but because I know that if I graduate from an Ivy League, I'll have better career prospects?
If you're going to study engineering, law, medicine, then I'll say, yeah, in certain cases like that. But the vast majority of college students are not pursuing those degrees. They're going to become school teachers, nurses. They're going to become police officers. They're going to have middle market jobs. I don't care if you go to Harvard. You're not going to make a lot of money as an elementary grade school teacher. So you might as well get that education degree as inexpensively and quickly as you possibly can.
How do you feel about student debt forgiveness? Is that something that we should pursue?
No, as a society, I think it's the entirely wrong message. It's extraordinarily unfair to the millions of people who self-sacrificed and either didn't incur the debt because they borrowed money in other ways, or they've gotten the debt and have already repaid the debt, or forgave the college career because they couldn't afford it in the first place. You were not required to incur that debt. You made a foolish decision at age 18 with foolish advice by parents or enabling by parents who said, go to that expensive private school, go study that degree that doesn't have a marketable job opportunity in, go get that massive student loan debt, and then we're going to demand that the government declare it void because I don't want to bother having to repay it. You need to act like the adult you are and repay this. What we need to do is change the entire educational system so that colleges are responsible for the debts that they are lending to these students. Because right now, colleges have no culpability. They're happy to give you any amount of money you want to borrow without any questions asked about your ability to repay it, because the colleges are not on the hook if you default. It's the taxpayer who's on the hook. So we need to change the system as to who's allowed to borrow money, how much money they're allowed to borrow, who they're going to owe if they don't pay it back, and who's financially responsible for that shortfall. The system we have right now is completely inside out, which is why we have $1.8 trillion of student loan debt, which is destroying the lives of millions of young people, delaying their ability to buy houses, get married, have children, save for their own retirement, care for their own parents. The trickle-down effect on the broader economic scenario is just devastating. We've got to fix it, and we need to make some hard decisions really quick. The loan forgiveness package is nothing more than a government boondoggle giveaway in a desperate effort to win votes.
Now, speaking of college, there's a number of companies, especially in the tech sector, that no longer require a bachelor's degree for some middle or even high skilled positions. Now, I think the implication here is that people can find skills in other ways. Which other ways can we acquire skills, Rick, besides college?
You're absolutely right about that, David. Companies are realizing that colleges are doing an incredibly poor job of preparing college students for the careers that the companies need. And they're recognizing better to get on the job training. Show us experiences that you have demonstrated, that you've learned how to interact with people, that you are able to problem solve, you're able to think dynamically, you're able to use your judgment, because that is what so much of business is all about. It isn't memorizing the databases. It's all about using your understanding, your intellect, your ability to use interpersonal communication, understanding how to deal with today's technology, which is growing at such a fast clip that in the physical sciences, half of what a college freshman learns is obsolete by the time they graduate. So it's not about knowing the stats, it's knowing how to think. And there are a lot of ways we can learn this. Go join the Peace Corps, go join the Army, go get internships at companies, go become have somebody mentor you, go engage the way that they used to do it 150 years ago, where you were an apprentice to somebody in a career. So learn about it, these skills and careers in those ways. Become innovative in all of this. This is what my book, The Truth About Your Future, covers. The notion of traditional education planning in America is outdated and broken, and we have to adapt to a new method that involves, quite frankly, lifelong learning. The notion of getting a college degree after 4 years and you're done is ridiculous. We have to engage in learning throughout the rest of our lives because technological innovations are growing at such an ongoing pace.
Well, I think that's why they call it a commencement speech, because you're commencing your life. Not it doesn't end after college. But you're absolutely right. With the advent of AI, Rick, people are concerned about not even just losing their jobs, but not having a job once they graduate or go into the workforce. Certainly, we're going to see trends like, let's say, from sales, for example. A lot of sales jobs are going to be eliminated. Research jobs are going to be replaced. How do young people gain a competitive edge in tomorrow's workforce in light of AI's rise?
Yeah, we have to recognize that due to AI and robotics, about half of the occupations that exist in America today will not exist in 15 years. Anything that can be done by a computer or a robot, which is just a computer that moves, anything that can be done by a computer will be done by a computer because they operate faster, they're cheaper, they're safer, they're more predictable, and they don't sexually harass the secretary. So we need to recognize the importance of business and commerce moving toward this, and there's no stopping it. So what we need to do as humans is recognize that although half of today's occupations are going to go away, they are going to be replaced by a whole new set of occupations that today don't even exist. Elevator operator used to be an occupation in America. That job doesn't exist anymore. Software engineer didn't exist 30 years ago. Today, it's a highly demanding career. So we need to learn how to use the technology. It's not that AI will put you out of work. It's the colleague who knows how to use AI who's going to put you out of work. So for you to remain competitive in the marketplace, you need to learn how to use the technology in the deployment and execution of your career objectives. And it's going to be much better than before. Lawyers, for example, who historically had to pore through law books looking for court rulings relevant to their case, now just ask Ross, which is an AI piece of software that lawyers use, so that the software does the grunt work of finding the relevant case law and allows the lawyers to do the thinking, the analyzing, the communicating. And those are the skill sets that are going to be in heavy demand indefinitely. Creating, thinking, managing, and communicating. That is what you want to focus on from a career perspective.
One more question on education. I want to move back to investments, Rick. Looking ahead, what sector of study or field of study do you think will yield the highest compensation or income in the future?
Engineering generally, the sciences broadly, if you're meaning the healthcare sciences in particular, in the innovation area, there are too many folks we know, PhDs, who are working for minimum wage because they get churned out by the gazillion and there isn't a place for them. in corporate America. But if you are going to be focusing in the innovative areas, healthcare and medicine, law, technology, meaning engineering, development, are all going to be huge. And I would also add the creative arts. They are not going to be threatened by AI, but they are going to be transforming the creation of art, everything from paintings to movies to sculptures, and even plays. So there's going to be tremendous opportunity in the future, but recognize that all you need to do is remain competitive in the marketplace so that you can earn enough of an income that you can then free up capital to deploy it into the investment world.
I've noticed so far into our conversation, you haven't brought up entrepreneurship yet as a possible path to becoming rich. Would you ever advise or say to somebody, a young person, or even a middle-aged person, leave your job, start your own business? That's the way to the future.
It's not something I often encourage because I don't think most people have it in them psychologically to the makeup of the individual to be an entrepreneur. I am an entrepreneur. I grew up in an entrepreneurial household, and I'm the most successful entrepreneur in the financial advisory space, having built the largest RIA firm in the nation with $250 billion in assets under management for more than 1 million households. But entrepreneurship is very different than most people think, because being a successful entrepreneur really has nothing to do with the widgets that you're in love with. A lot of people think that because they have a passion for something in particular, that they're going to start their own business and do it. And what they fail to realize is that entrepreneurs spend very little amounts of their time with the passion. They spend most of their time with HR, with contracts, with leasehold negotiations, with technology development. They spend a lot of their time with lawyers and accountants and capital resources like private equity and venture capitalists. And so it's an entirely different skill set of building a business, running a business, and then ultimately selling the business, which is the opposite of what most entrepreneurs want to do because they love what they do. So what I find is that a lot of people who start a business, you know what they've really done for themselves, David? They've basically created their own job. And that's fine if you want to be the local butcher because you love slaughtering cows and you're going to have a great time, you know, hacking away in the back. Wonderful. But is that going to be more lucrative than getting a job? I'm not so sure.
Okay, so but when you going back to the characteristics of an entrepreneur, you said that some people, or most people, don't have it in them. What do you
Right.
mean by that?
Well, I don't think they fully appreciate the amount of risk that is required. The risk in terms of the amount of money that it takes when you sign those
Or maybe
contracts.
maybe they do appreciate the risk, and that's exactly why they don't want to take that leap, because most people are risk averse.
Yeah, I think so. And they also don't, I think they have an appreciation for how much time it takes. I've never met an entrepreneur who doesn't work 7 days a week,
Yeah.
or a successful one. So when you recognize the sacrifices to your personal life, your family life, the financial risk that you're taking, a lot of people are just not cut out for that. Now, if you recognize you are, and I realized early on that I had to be an entrepreneur for one simple reason: I am unemployable. There's no way anybody would ever hire me because I always tell them what I think. And that's not what a lot of employers want to hear. So if the only way I could quit getting fired was to start my own company where
Right.
I won't fire myself. And so you may discover that you do have what it takes. And if so, I agree with you 1,000%. America was built on capitalism, and capitalism is built on entrepreneurship. Rather than asking someone to give you a job, which is really a handout when you think about it, go build your own, go create your own company. There's nothing more exciting.
How does one discover a passion if you're not encouraged to pursue your passion at a young age? Just to go back to what you said earlier, pursue a career that is lucrative, but I don't really know what I love. I don't want to live till I'm 55 and discover, you know what? I never went into my own business, building my own passion. How do we find that at an early age?
This is why I think college is so vital, because especially a liberal arts education,
Okay.
because done right, college will expose you to the broad array of this world, and it'll open your eyes, and you will literally stumble upon your passion. You'll find it. And there's so many college students who enter college pursuing one field of study and they graduate with a completely different one because they discovered that passion in the middle of their college career. So I think it's really, really important that you take classes that have nothing to do with your field of study, that you join student clubs that have nothing to do with your major, and you spend as much time as you can with as many different members of the faculty as possible even those you are not taking any classes from, the point of college is to build your brain. High school built your body. College builds your brain, and you need to expose yourself to that. And I'm pretty confident that if you have an open mind, that passion will identify itself.
All right, so let's finish off in the markets once again. So I'm ready to invest. I'm going to put some money aside and buy things, assets. Which assets will preserve my wealth? I don't necessarily need to be a millionaire by tomorrow. I just need to not lose my wealth to inflation. What do I do?
I think you should use broad-based ETFs that invest in a wide array of stocks in the U.S. and international stock markets. And if you keep investing in those ETFs with every spare dollar that you have as often as possible, you'll be amazed in 20, 30 years how much wealth you'll have created.
So I'm assuming that you still believe in the engine of American capitalism over the next 20 years to deliver the same returns that the S&P has delivered over the last 50 years?
Oh, I think the opportunity has never been better. It is so much easier now to create wealth than it was when I was in my 20s. I'm kind of jealous of today's generation. All they got to do is make all this available to them because it's out there for the taking. The highly diversified products, very low cost, very low investment amount, high liquidity, ease of access. It's never been easier to create wealth in America.
Well, I want to comment on the American dream, which is one of the facets of the American dream, which is to own property. First of all, is that still the American dream?
Long term, yes. Real estate is an equity asset, and it's an important one because it's kind of weird. People will usually borrow money to buy a house. People rarely borrow money to buy a stock. And because of the leverage that they get from home ownership, it's a wonderful way to create wealth. The problem at the moment, we well know, is that interest rates are at a 20-year high and housing prices are at an all-time high. So it's really difficult for young people to afford that house or to qualify for the mortgage. And that's shutting out a lot of people from the housing market at the moment. But that ebbs and flows, and over longer periods, that'll self-correct. When you have the economic opportunity to buy a home and you are confident you'll live in that home for 7 to 10 years, you should do it.
Well, that lends itself to the question as to whether or not a home is a worthy investment. Because when you think about it, I have to set aside a big chunk of cash for a down payment. Now, that chunk of cash could be used to, like you said, diversify into other assets that could potentially yield me a higher return in today's high interest rate environment. So already I'm at a disadvantage because I'm not diversified. All my eggs are literally going into one basket, which is my house. And the second is that this house may not even yield me a high return because of how high rates are. And I don't know if my house value is going to go up. I just don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you. And that is the big negative of home ownership. So I'll mention this. Your home is really not an investment. It's a place to live. You buy it because it suits your lifestyle. It's close to work and schools and shopping, and it's far from relatives. It fits your needs. That's not an investment. The fact that over 20 years or 30 years, the house will appreciate is a nice little side benefit, but that's not the reason to buy the house. You do want to recognize that a lot of very successful people have become successful and have never owned a home. Most New Yorkers, for example, they typically rent their apartments in New York City. So you don't have to own a home to achieve the American dream. You can rent a perfectly fine home that meets your lifestyle needs. But all other factors being equal, if you have the opportunity to buy and it doesn't preclude you from doing the other investing stuff, do it all.
Well, what are the advantages to owning a home from a lifestyle perspective versus renting?
Well, number one, the landlord can never kick you out. The landlord will never raise your rent. The landlord will never sell the house from under you and force you to leave.
Well, the government can raise my rent with higher interest rates, but yes, I get your point. Yeah.
But if you lock in the 30-year loan, you don't have to worry about that. The houses over long periods generally rise in value. So those are advantages. And there's the emotional notion of owning that home. It's your own little piece of the world. You get to decorate it as you wish and raise your kids and get a dog and, do the white picket fence thing that is just an emotionally fulfilling element. My concern is that too many people aren't emotionally prepared, financially prepared, or economically stable enough to buy that house. They buy a house too soon. They buy a bigger house than they can afford. They don't understand the full cost of home ownership. They forget about the cost of buying the lawnmower or the hours it takes every weekend to mow that grass. And they get themselves into trouble because they bought something that really wasn't in their best interest. So if you're going to engage in home ownership, you got to have your eyes wide open about the economic implications of being a homeowner.
Do you consider cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin in particular a wealth preservation tool, Rick?
No, I consider it a wealth creation tool. There are some who believe that Bitcoin is a good hedge against inflation. That's not, in my view, the primary benefit of Bitcoin and other key digital assets. I think that this is the early stages of Internet 3.0. We all lament the fact that we had the chance to invest in the internet back in the 90s and we blew it. We didn't buy Amazon, we didn't buy Google, and we're kicking ourselves for it. Yeah. We now have that opportunity today with the third generation of the internet, which is what blockchain technology represents. So I believe that as part of a broad, diversified portfolio that has a long-term focus, a very small, because it's highly risky and uncertain, low single-digit allocation to Bitcoin and perhaps other digital assets is appropriate for a lot of people because I believe it represents a really terrific wealth creation opportunity.
Can we just back up and define Web 3.0? I've heard several definitions. What is yours? How is it different from Web 2.0, which is what we currently have?
Yeah, so let's talk about all three. The original internet, Web 2.0 and 3.0. The original internet, in a nutshell, was something that you looked at. You went onto the internet and you looked at somebody's website. Internet 2.0 was something that you interacted with. You uploaded your own information. You created a Facebook account. You sent emails. You uploaded YouTube content. So you went from being a passive viewer of content to the creator of content. That was the Internet 2.0. That's where we are today, is that stage. The next stage that's coming is the Internet 3.0, Web 3, where we are now going to be the owners of that content. So, for example, when you upload your photo to YouTube, you don't own it, YouTube does. When you upload data to Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg owns your content, and he's the one who makes all the money as a result of the content you're sharing up there. Yeah. In the future, we're starting this already, where we're going to be playing a video game, for example, but I'm going to take my avatar and I'm going to dress my avatar in a Burberry coat that I purchase from Burberry, a digital jacket. I'm going to dress my avatar in it. I will own this jacket. And when I'm tired of playing that game or wearing that jacket, because I own it, I will sell that jacket to another video gamer. And if it proves to be a popular jacket, I'll be able to sell it for more than I paid for it. I am now going to be in control of the expenses I incur on the internet. I'm also going to be able to digitally monetize my assets to place them on the internet. I will be paid for uploading content to the internet. I will be paid for letting companies access my private data. They want to sell or market to me on the internet, post ads on the websites I visit. They're going to pay me a fee for the privilege of having me see their ads. So we're moving from viewing content to creating content to now owning our content. And this is going to create a massive new economic model that's going to really help millions of people create wealth in unprecedented ways that never existed before.
Okay. Well, I've got to ask you, I mean, this is just me playing devil's advocate. I don't necessarily disagree with anything you're saying myself, but why can't I just go and buy an actual jacket and flip that in real life? You know, why?
For the same reason that people go to Match.com to get a date. The number of people you will personally interact by walking around town with a physical jacket is nothing compared to the number of people you'll meet online with a digital jacket in Fortnite.
Okay, so it's an issue of scaling. Interesting.
Right.
Do you believe in the future of the metaverse then, that we will all be virtually connected somehow?
Yes, there's no question about it. All major corporations are already staking land in the metaverse. everybody from Starbucks to Nike to Disney to McDonald's to Walmart to Fidelity, all have locations in Decentraland and other metaverse sites. It's projected that by the end of the decade, it's going to be a $5 trillion industry. Literally doesn't even exist today. So it's going to be huge. And blockchain digital assets led to the creation of NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and NFTs are the gateway into the metaverse. So all of this is coming. It's coming with astonishing speed, which is why I spend so much of my time at DAC-FP teaching the financial community about this tech, because of the wealth creation opportunities it represents.
Well, we already have Sims, for example, right? World of Warcraft is arguably a metaverse. What's the difference here with blockchain? Is it just the aspect of ownership, that we can own things in the blockchain?
Yeah, exactly right. Each NFT is a unique asset that you can own, and which has specific particular attributes that you design, create, provide that are going to be astonishing. We're going to create NFTs of everything from our driver's license to our passport and birth certificate to our education records, medical records, or employment records, all the way through to our salaries. We're going to be able to invest in NFTs that represent the songs of our favorite recording artists. So every time I download my favorite rock star's song on Spotify, I'm going to earn a piece of the royalty. I'm not just going to be a fan, I'm going to be an owner of this asset. I'll be able to own a piece of the salary of my favorite football quarterback. I'm going to be able to own a piece of the contract of my favorite Hollywood celebrity. We will be engagers, not merely viewers of this. And the wealth creation, wealth distribution elements are unprecedented, and most of it's going to occur in the metaverse.
Okay. Finally, I want to close off on retirement planning, which is another subject in which you're an expert on. What are some of the common mistakes that people make when planning for retirement? Suppose you're not 65 yet.
Yeah, the single biggest mistake, David, I think people are making is that they don't recognize how long they're really going to live. You ask most people, they think they're going to live to 85, maybe 90, and they're wrong. I've been on the advisory boards of the Stanford Center on Longevity, the Milken Institute for the Study of Aging, worked with MIT's Age Lab, and all these scientists and experts, gerontologists and physicists, they all say the same thing. If you're going to be alive in 2030, odds are really good that you'll live to age 100 or beyond. Wow. So we need to recognize that you're going to live a lot longer than you thought, which raises the issue. If you're going to live to age 100, is your money going to last as long as you do? You don't want to become broke at age 90 or 95.
Well, even before that, the question is, at what age should you retire if you're going to live till 105?
Retirement is a 20th century innovation that will not exist in the 21st century. You're not going to retire at 65. For one thing, you're not going to be economically able to do that. You're not going to be able to afford a 40-year retirement. Second, you're going to be bored out of your mind. At age 65, you're going to be healthier than when your parents were age 35, because we have better lifestyles, better healthcare. We're drinking less, smoking less, exercising more. We're getting better sleep, lower stress. Our health at 65 is going to be great. Your health at 85 is going to be great. Medical innovation is going to cure the diseases that are currently killing people. It's projected that by 2040, we're going to cure obesity, diabetes. We're going to cure lung disease, heart disease. We're going to cure cancer by 2040. So all the things that are killing us today, we're going to conquer, and that is going to allow us to live longer than ever. And if that sounds crazy, think back to 100 years ago when diphtheria or tuberculosis were among the leading causes of death. Nobody dies in America of cholera anymore, but it was the leading cause of death 100 years ago. Go 200 years ago, and erysipelas and pyemia were the leading causes of death. I don't even know what they are, but they were the leading causes of death 200 years ago. Medical science cured those as well. Next, we're going to cure heart disease and lung disease and cancer. So we need to assume that we're going to live longer, and we need to assume that we're going to be healthier. So at age 65, we're going to be bored to tears if all we do is watch TV all day or garden or play golf. We're going to want to stay engaged. We're going to want to contribute to society. We're going to want to keep on making money, and we're going to do that for as long as we live.
Well, how do you think there's going to be industries in the future that will have room or have jobs for people in their 80s? Is
Very
that
much so, because we have a reduction in the birth rate. So we are producing fewer babies. That
okay?
means fewer future workers. And we're going to have new career opportunities due to technology where you're not going to have to work 40 hours. Don't assume what I'm saying this, that you're going to work 45 hours a week at age 80. You're not. You're going to work 10 hours a week. You're going to have a part-time gig and a passion that you really love, whether it's woodworking or tour guiding, or you think of it on your own, and you're going to have fun doing it. You're going to make enough money to supplement the investment income that you've generated for 30, 40, 50, 60 years of savings, enough to tide you over, preserve your lifestyle. And one of the biggest industries to come, the leisure industry. We're going to have so much time on our hands. We're going to have huge industries devoted to helping us have fun.
So let's suppose I don't know when I'm gonna, how long I'm gonna live. Let's suppose I'm gonna live. I anticipate that I'll live to the average life expectancy of, I think, 79 in the U.S. for males. So I wanna stop working by the time I'm 70. I'm 33 today. What do I need to do to make sure that by the time I'm 70, I've still got 10 more years, at least 10 to 15, if not 20 more years of just cash available to sustain a lifestyle that I find comfortable? What do I have to do today?
You need to start aggressively saving as much money as you possibly can. You need to front load it as best as possible. You see, you can drive your car while you're paying for it, and you can live in your house while you're paying for it. You can't pay for retirement in retirement. You have to front load it. So the sooner you want to retire, the more money you need to accumulate before that date. So if you want to retire at a given age, which is a given number of years from now, you need to throw as much money into savings and investments as possible today to build that piggy bank up so that by the time that date occurs, you're ready to rock and roll.
And if I'm saving for retirement, does that change my risk profile for my investment portfolio? Like more of it should be cash or treasuries, bonds, perhaps, and equities. Does that matter?
It does matter, but I think that the traditional advice is out of date. The traditional old school thinking, what I used to say 40 years ago, was that the closer you get to retirement, the less money you need to have in equities
Mm,
because equities have more risk.
mhm.
This is called the glide path. You start off at age 20 with 100% in stocks. And as you get closer to retirement, you reduce the amount of money in equities. Like, picture an airplane at 40,000 feet going down to the runway at the airport. When the closer you get to the destination, the lower your altitude, the lower your risk.
Mhm.
That used to be true 40 years ago when we were all going to die at 75 or 80. But today, it isn't an issue of your retirement age, it's an issue of your life expectancy. So you need to own more equities for longer than the old glide path suggested. So you are recognizing that you're not going to die at 75, you'll be alive to 95 or beyond.
All right. Final question for you, Rick. This has been a great talk. I think you're in your 60s now. You've had a successful career. Your your accomplishments speak for themselves. What are you planning to do now? Why aren't you in a cottage somewhere just relaxing? Why are you still working in your 60s? Are you planning to retire
Uh,
anytime
so,
soon? You don't have to
so
work.
no, I don't. Economically, my wife and I are blessed. I'm 65, and we sold our financial planning practice. Actually, I've sold it 6 times over the years. There will be a seventh final transaction in a few years. And so we have largely monetized and have been, of course, successful with our investments. I do like to follow my own advice.
Mhm.
And the entrepreneurial spirit still exists. There's a lot of opportunity, a lot of need. So I've built several other companies beyond Edelman Financial. I now operate DAC-FP, our crypto education company. The Truth About Your Future, my media company. I own an Alzheimer's research company because that's the #1 healthcare crisis in the world. So we're working hard to defeat Alzheimer's. We have my family office that I manage, and we're also very heavily engaged in philanthropic activities, predominantly at Rowan University, where we are very heavily involved. This is what keeps you young, keeps you busy, keeps you vital, and it's important to give back. And that's really what we're committed to be doing.
Well, do you feel like you've accomplished or fulfilled your purpose in your life, or not yet at
Not
65?
not yet. We're along the way. We've accomplished an awful lot. I think we think our financial planning firm has probably produced more millionaires than anyone in the country. Um, we have benefited millions of people through my radio and television shows over the decades and my 13 best-selling books and tens of thousands of seminars I've given over the decades, and now webinars. We've helped a lot of folks, and it's gratifying and it's exciting to have these folks reach out to us and tell us their story of when they met us and how we've changed their lives and on and on. But I think I'm still middle-aged. I'm only 65. We've got another 40, 50, 60 years to go. And the opportunity to have an impact on individuals, on families, on society has never been bigger because of the technological opportunity. The ability to reach more people more easily, more quickly, more effectively has never been better. And it creates huge, wonderful opportunities. And we just want to share with folks the benefit of our experiences and our knowledge so they can put it to their own use, their own benefit for their own families. And we're excited to engage in all of that.
So where can we access your services and learn about you and learn more from you right now?
The easiest way is at dacfp.com, or the truth, AYF.com.
Okay, we'll put those links in the description down below. Thank you, Ric. It has been a great talk. You've been very generous with your time and with your knowledge. So appreciate you being here.
David, you make it so easy. Thank you so much. Been a pleasure.
And thank you for watching. Don't forget to follow Ric in the links down below and subscribe.